Happy 2022, everyone. This is another brain dump of basically the thought process, specifically around focus and achieving things. Really breaking down a goal, a future vision of your future, specifically a lifestyle, and reverse engineering certain habits that will then get you to that destination. And we really want to talk about the concept of focus, and as well as the general overwhelm, and I guess those sabotaging behaviors that are just almost on autopilot and will completely rob you of any sense of clarity, any sense of confidence that you've built up, and I guess the importance of building and intertwining habits into your routine that ultimately will reinforce confidence, will remind you of why you should be confident, because the mind has a way of completely hiding files, like memory files, that enable confidence. Like, it's literally a trickster in some respect. If you're not able to collate those files and actually have them in a certain spot for quick recall, then your conscious awareness won't have the ability to access those files, like won't be able to bring up those memories of why you should be ridiculously confident, oozing with confidence, and steering clear of arrogance. So your confidence is basically in a learning mode. There's a difference between being highly knowledgeable, but also the willingness to listen and not always kind of outward projecting a strong opinion of why your opinion is the most correct. It's constantly in a state of learning, observing, and using your intellect and your energy reserves in a sound way, not just misdirected fire hose just going on in different directions. Your ability to bring up these memory files and fire and wire them in a certain way, so your confidence is restored, not depleted, and you're building up your confidence stores and being, I guess, highly intelligent in environments where it can be depleted. So you want to build up your confidence. So if you know you're going to be around people at an event, or you're going to do something that will result high chance of failure, you're not going to fall flat on your face. You're not going to feel the overwhelm. If anything, your confidence depletes, but is not completely empty. You don't fall in a backward spiral. Getting those quick wins on a day-to-day basis, but also acknowledging where you feel resistance. If you have a habit that you're meant to execute for that day, but it just feels insurmountable to even just do that thing, breaking down that habit into the most minuscule traits, or even just getting enough momentum towards that habit. But that's not your goal, that's not your habit for the day. You're trying to trend towards that habit, if that makes sense. So you're moving towards that. So, for example, recording a module for a course that you want to teach students is to set the intention to kind of set that space, to clear your desk, to have the webcam on, and to just plan out what you want to say, and basically just start recording. Like, just have a goal of recording 10 seconds and forcefully get yourself to hit stop after that 10 seconds, and then just pause and just acknowledge the difficulty in even doing that. But then realize that momentum, that forward momentum, you start to realize that, oh, I'll do a little bit more then. Let's do 15 seconds this time. And know that that footage is meaningless. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to be used for anything. But you're now gaining momentum in a more positive direction. It's you're not setting that goal or that habit for that day to record a whole module, because that feels overwhelming. You still haven't planned out what you want to say. Even getting in front of a camera and actually seeing yourself can cause some confidence issues in itself. So it comes down to focus, really, and energy, putting forceful energy towards disciplinary practices is not necessarily creating, like, wanting to exert effort. Try to hack your mindset, try to hack your day, try to hack your tendencies. Where do you feel you procrastinate the most? And break down that scenario and that environment where you fall into those procrastinating activities. Setting boundaries, setting obstacles to get to that procrastination effort will actually assist. There's things like screen downtime on a phone, which can very easily be overridden by just ignoring the limit for today, or 15 minutes or 1 minute or what have you. But actually just having your access to that phone completely removed from your, wherever you are. And if you need your phone to actually do that said task, actually just have, a limit or a time limit, or a timer that goes off based on how long it should take to do that task. And that reminder popping up, that alarm actually coming up on your phone to give you that awareness to be like, okay, your time limit is up. What have you done? Which would kind of just prompt you in a constant state of, okay, well, I didn't do anything. What did I do for that last 10 minutes? And it kind of reminds me of meditation in some ways, because you want to come back to your mantra in a state of there's no pattern or frequency to the word. You're kind of saying it in a way that you come back to your mantra, and then a thought form or a bubble will appear, and depending on the emotional reaction or emotional response, you will zoom into that, and you'll just completely be oblivious to how long time has passed. You'll feel as though time has just sped past, but really it hasn't been much time at all. And it just goes to show how much thoughts and following those thought patterns can be so so abrupt and so quick that your concept of time actually distorts, and it just makes you realize that how many thoughts you possibly could have during a whole day. And it comes back to focus. Even without stimuli like a phone or just wanting to scroll, procrastinate, do nothing, in the absence of that, then if you have nothing to distract you, your thoughts then will distract you. Resisting thoughts. What I found super useful is to just acknowledge and smile and be like, I'm procrastinating right now. Like, just really be in it and just allow yourself to procrastinate for a short period of time. To be like, okay, I'm procrastinating right now because of insert reason. Like, just listen to your brain. What is it doing? Like, why is it resisting the next actionable step? And not fight it, not just be like realizing you're procrastinating and you're so deep into that and you're getting those little dopamine hits and your brain's kind of giving you that feedback system of like, oh, scrolling mindlessly feels good, or you just realize you're back to scrolling. But just acknowledge, just literally just tell the truth to yourself, like, I'm procrastinating right now, and that's okay. Why do I feel fearful of taking that next step? Or does this habit or this routine or this next action item that I need to do, that I have to do, that will serve me well in the future? Why am I currently trading current time and not having that delayed gratification for a future milestone to be achieved in the future? Like, why do my goals not feel desirable in this current moment? And enough desire to put off that immediate gratification of just feeling an emotional response. When you do that, you acknowledge that you're procrastinating. You start to realize that the feel-good chemicals don't necessarily feel good anymore. It's not necessarily guilt, but it's just acknowledging that it's just empty little, it's not even fireworks going off in your brain of achieving a milestone that that you've set and you strategized, and it's the most intelligent way to kind of proceed during this day, this time allotment that you have. They're not even fireworks, they're little sparks, and they dissipate, and then you're searching for the other spark, But to be in the abyss, just to be in the darkness of nothing, and to realize that fireworks will go off later on that day. When you've reviewed your day, once you've realized that you've made progress, you've gotten a little bit closer, ever so close. But more importantly, it's just all momentum, like we talked about early on. And every day should just be maintaining momentum, like with the absolute urgency, like with the absolute top priority. Even though you haven't really made progress, you just maintain that momentum. Like you're just setting the environment, you're constantly in repetitious kind of cycle and setting up that environment to win, limiting distractions and enhancing your focus. The ability to focus on one set task and execute that task is going to result in those fireworks, and the next day you'll have more of a likelihood of gravitating towards wanting that firework display rather than that spark, that just little spark, eruption of a spark, and then it just completely dissipates, and then you're searching for the next one, and realizing that that's not even on that's not even in the strategic direction, that's not even on the to-do list, that has nothing to do with anything. It's your brain's fear response of wanting to distract and to just feel something, because the feeling of being in the abyss of just nothing, feeling no sense of those good feelings of, this feels really good, there's no certainty. You just want to crave some certainty. So again, reiterating what we talked about earlier, was to set up those quick wins, like those really basic environmental cues, just having your distractions put to bay, like knowing your tendencies, and not feel offended by acknowledging that, or have someone else bring them to light, and not feel that. Don't allow yourself to be offended, but rather just acknowledge that it's something that everyone inherently has the capacity to want to procrastinate, wanting that desire just to do anything but what needs to be done. So I guess 2022, if regardless of New Year's resolutions or anything like that, setting up a 4th of January day, the daily resolution is to just ultimately just have more of a trending direction towards reducing distraction, having intentional environments as the prioritization for the next 7 days. Then the following 7 days, to break down those priority tasks into just the forward momentum, just those initial stages. So filming a course will just be setting up the camera, wearing the shirt that you want to wear for recording, just writing the first 2 topics down, and just record a test run, and then record another test run, but with literally just the objective of setting the intention, the environment for that, and using the forward momentum, and realizing that how many times you sit down in front of a camera, your improvement will be, progressively exponential if you repeat that habit constantly. If you just keep repeating it constantly, you'll start to improve. You'll start to speak off the cuff. You'll start to have that effortless flow towards speaking with clarity, with speaking with purpose, and not be focusing on how you specifically look or how you feel that day. You're really just bringing your focus towards okay, this is the first task, this is the first thing, and my momentum is the most important thing. Just even acknowledging the fact that momentum is the most important thing is your ability then to focus on one thing. And too often, I hear take massive action towards everything or visualize that goal, but ultimately it's the momentum towards that goal is what I value the most. And if anything, I feel as though I get sidetracked so often and feel overwhelmed so often that I just get tired, like months and months afterwards. I just get tired of the same routine, the same sabotaging behaviors. You just get tired. You lose, you almost lose energy to doing, like, you lose energy towards procrastinating. Like, you couldn't be bothered procrastinating more. Your tendency is so off the cuff. You could predict your day. You could be like, I'm going to sit down and start writing this article or start writing this book or start filming this course, and then I'll start looking at sports scores or start researching something, or you'll have these positive intentions, but then you'll kind of get persuaded, and really it just comes down to the fear or the overwhelm, because it just feels insurmountable. Like you're looking up at Everest peak and knowing that you're just on the ground, and you're like, oh, I'd love to go all this way, but really breaking down that Everest climb into like literally like 5 steps at a time. Take 5 steps, just 5 steps. That's all we're going to think about. And it's a concept of just walking in the dark with a flashlight, and you're just having the flashlight highlighting every step. But know that you're going to go in a certain direction. You're going to go in a certain degree, certain angle. That's your strategy. But then zoom in, and all you're focusing on is that one step and having quality in every step. So breaking that down into practicality, research, research one what, like for a business idea, say, of say you're setting up a brewing company, and you wanted to brew beer. The very first step is to literally explore the different flavors of beer that's currently out there, the popularity, the niche, the target market, what you feel is the most opportunistic, unique selling point, and what will differentiate your brand among others. And you're just breaking down that one thing when I look at every current beer that you appeal to, and if you're your current target market, your niche, really reverse engineer why you enjoy that beer, the colors, the textures, in the branding, everything about that, and looking at what are current leaders doing differently to the rest of the crowd, who are the up and coming, all that kind of jazz. Just really focusing on, say, product design, product research, and if that's a passionate endeavor, you're really just immersing yourself in that, and you're just pouring everything into it. You set up a spreadsheet or like a literal physical book. Make your titles beautiful. Write in block letters at the start. You be intentional with the pens that you use. Make it a beautiful page of research that you've beautified, and every time you open up that page, it just attracts you to that. And you're putting so much love and attention into that one step that it's just going to spread across, and it's just going to fuel the fire, so to speak. That's the best advice that I can give to someone who's going on a really long journey or set a huge milestone or a goal, is to just really just put quality into every step, and just don't feel rushed, and just feel guided, and just know and trust the process, and acknowledge when you hit a roadblock, and just be calm, just constantly be calm, just really strategize out every step. And you don't have to have the whole blueprint, just take that very first step and just see how it goes. And before you start committing to financial expenditure, or upfront costs. Just have conversations with people in the industry or people you know and trust that are advisors or strategists. Set up those preliminaries, set up a meeting with a lawyer, and just really just get conversations flowing, because it's going to feel more real, and kind of lead you in a more, I guess, intentional direction, because you're pouring your focus into every step. You're not just planning constantly, just constantly planning and then feeling overwhelmed because you planned it all out and it's just so much work and it might not even eventuate. But meanwhile, on your journey, you could then pivot to different things, pivot to completely different things, or the people that you meet that advise you along the way. You start to realize your why or your reason behind doing that was more aesthetic in its nature, or just wanting to, build something. You start to realize that someone else has built something or started to build something you feel mutually passionate towards, and then you also co-create whatever that is. So again, I've met so many people that start in one direction and they enjoy that step, because they're just working on each step. It doesn't feel like they've surrendered something, like that bigger vision. Their bigger vision's kind of being presented to themselves along the way, because they realize that it was the aesthetic nature of that initial vision, initial goal. They didn't even know if they wanted that or not, or they didn't realize that what that path could lead down towards. And just enjoying each step and enjoying that journey will just allow you to flourish within yourself, and just give context to the overall reason for pursuing and enduring that pain, that difficulty, and feeling those obstacles along the way, because you're breaking down every step and taking breaks and acknowledging and pausing at those moments and really breathing into it, and realize that that dopamine rush actually comes from just constantly being in pursuit, just constantly taking each actionable step. So they're my thoughts on focus. And the sabotaging nature is phenomenal. I just still can't get over how strong the human mind can be and how mischievous it can be at sometimes. It just completely robs you of your why. Some mornings you just wake up and with amnesia in some respects, like you literally have forgotten why you're doing it, who you are, what your strengths are, what your gifts are, and you just see your to-do list, or you just know where you're heading towards, and you're like, oh, it makes me feel sick. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can cope with the stress. And then your mind just pulls up stressful moments and that sick feeling in your stomach, and you're like, oh, what's the point? I just want some certainty. I just want to be able to just feel good in this moment. So then you'll reach for things that will make you feel good in the moment. So that sabotaging nature is so strong, and the amnesia is so real. Again, you need habitual practices to kind of implement those memories of why you're starting and affirm them through, again, the concept of affirm is through an affirmation, through statement of the positive in its present form, of where you want to go towards, or what personal development aspects you need to be working on along the way, because they're non-negotiable. There's something that you need to improve. They're not necessarily a weakness, but there's something you need to improve upon. You're enhancing your strength, so to speak. This kind of hedges the risk of those sabotaging behaviors, because it's not like you're getting that amnesia effect, the full effect. It will come and it will rob you in that moment, and you'll feel like you're just treading water in the deepest of seas. You can't tell what's beneath you and you can't see anything. But yet you have your little playbook at hand, whether it's on your phone or a page, a journal, to remind you of who you are, why you're doing this, what's your deeper why. And again, there's a exercise called 7 Layers Deep where you constantly ask yourself, why do I want this? So again, in the nature of the brewing company, you ask yourself, why I want to create a brewing company. And it's like, I want to create a brewing company to create this amazing beverage that has these health benefits, but also provides good times, and what have you. And then you go, why do you want to create good times? Or I want to create these good times because of this. And then you just keep going lower and lower as you get deeper and deeper. And your brain stops talking, and there's other parts of your being that gets ignited, and you feel that emotional response. And generally it comes down to those highest values at the end of the day that we talk about is, you value independence or control, freedom, flexibility, whatever those highest values actually are. It actually becomes intertwined as you go deeper and deeper. There's something you value the most. So ultimately, it's like why you're doing something is you value that characteristic of life the most, and it's usually grown and cultivated through your childhood, something that you had a lack of and you desire the most, and you don't ever want that feeling, and you're kind of creating that. And also it's this indelible kind of wave that you want to intertwine and leave a legacy, or leave that with your family or your community or the world at a larger scale. And it moves you so much that you're able to endure pain. When I say pain, usually pain comes in the form of uncertainty and not knowing what's going to happen, what's going to eventuate. And that faith comes from cultivating faith, actually hedges the pain of uncertainty, and just again having those strong habitual practices, and whatever your belief system is, but just setting the affirmation of having a positive present state affirmation in the present form actually negates that, because your brain again is hidden in this skull. It can't see outwards. Obviously you have eyes, but your brain can't see. It's just hidden in a dark skull, and it's just firing and wiring things based on the environment and what feedback it provides. And words are so powerful that the more you engage with those words, with powerful statements, keeps your brain, keeps your amygdala calm in that current state, and just allows the energy reserves of your body to kind of be directed towards productive purposes, rather than being wasted. And I really just see it as very much like you're a vehicle, and there's no fuel stations in between, and you've got the exact amount of kilometers in between each fuel station. You need to get to that next fuel station, but you're taking bullets, to your fuel tank, and there's going to be some holes, and if you're not patching up those holes, or again avoiding the bullets, or better yet, like actually building a bulletproof shell like around your fuel tank, you're protecting your fuel reserves. And what I found in life is all about management of those fuel reserves as one of the highest priorities. And with momentum comes management of energy. And if you're able to manage your energy and just constantly have particularly the mental energy, because with physical energy that can be revived through rest, through nutrition. With mental energy, you can get all the rest in the world, but if your thought forms aren't serving you, you're getting drained. Your fuel tank is taking a hammering, and you're leaking fuel. You're not going to make it to that second station, and that's where we need help. That's where you feel lost. That's why you run out of energy, you run out of gas, and you're literally just hitchhiking or just wandering aimlessly. So being able to just preserve that fuel tank, and having secondary stores of fuel, which again comes in the form of habitual practices like meditation and affirmation and journaling and reviewing your tendencies and where your mental energy gets exerted the most, and just having that energy to keep pushing through would be, my recommendation of the most highest priority. And I guess rehashing those two things would be management of your energy reserves as well as building forward momentum. You can have all the fuel in the world, but if you're not moving forward, you're not driving towards that fuel station, then you're just prolonging it. It has, you have more of a tendency to just pull over to the side of the road and not moving, go anywhere. So yeah, you're preserving your energy and you're being really acutely aware of your mental state and preserving that energy. But if you're not using that energy towards something, again, it's being wasted. So those two come in hand is forward momentum and management of energy, particularly mental energy, particularly of thought forms. Other people can actually absorb, drain, suck you dry, particularly if you're high vibe, particularly if you're on a positive trajectory. And people can see your trajectory and get jealous of where you're heading towards. And meanwhile, in your own life, you could be struggling severely, financially, emotionally, and it just feels like you're taking a beating because you're like, why are these people jealous of me? I haven't even achieved anything yet. And that's just the laws of human nature. Like, jealousy is a form of love and hate blended together. So just having that great gratitude of giving love to those people, because there's a form of love in there, but then there's a hate as well, which gets blended in and mixed into that cocktail. Once it gets mixed together, just forms that jealous, murky water, which doesn't feel very nice. But ultimately just giving thanks and love to those people up here and protecting your energy. Again, reducing the environmental exposure to them, being strategic at parties, dinners, events, around your physical proximity to those people, rehearsing and being prepared for certain questions that and you won't know until you start meeting these people. You won't know until you know these tendencies, those questions they ask, or you hear from others like, I can't believe they asked that question. And just rehearsing like strong boundary responses. You're like, that's just something that I haven't really told anyone, or if they're asking specific things about your business or about how much money you have or where you live and all those different things, just having intelligent responses that kind of sets that boundary but doesn't cause a fight. It just shows them, I'm dealing with someone who is not going to give me that information readily. And just rehearsing some strong responses that you feel confident in executing allows that mental energy to be focused towards something productive. Stops you feeling anxious and just living up all these scenarios and feeling embarrassed or feeling like you're leaving the party and you just feel like what was the point of my business venture that I was pursuing, or I won't have a chance. My confidence is depleted. Again, what we spoke about early on was the ability of confidence and maintaining confidence and building up that tank. Once it gets depleted, at least you have some left in the tank. So yeah, that's my little brain dump of probably the two most important things I think personally that I want to focus on for 2022. There's no real resolutions. I've got my overarching goals and my future lifestyle vision, and I'm very flexible of how I get there. Which takes a lot of pressure off, because it's a lot of trusting, a lot of faith in how I get there. I've felt the wrath of negative people in my life, and I've been extremely sick before, autoimmune and just energy depletion to the most extreme extent. And I'm just grateful for lots of energy and focus and patience and clarity and calmness. So I'm keeping my simplistic strategy for this year is building momentum towards where my future lifestyle leads, or what my vision of my future lifestyle is, and the management of energy. Like, that's all it is. Like, on a day-to-day basis, if I can manage my mental energy in the form of habitual practices first thing in the morning to protect, rehearsing responses, especially in social situations around people who don't want you to succeed. They have no choice but to attend because of some other greater higher purpose, whether it's family, friends, a wedding, whatever it is. If you want to be around people that will deplete your energy, again, rehearsing and preparing to go into battle per se, but really a defensive nature, and just standing your ground, setting your boundaries, and reaffirming your higher path and where you're leading towards, and just building up that momentum. Again, building momentum, maintaining that momentum, and managing energy. So hopefully that helps. If anything, this is more of a selfish video, like me rehashing and clarifying what my strategy is. It's very simple, because if I lose my way, it's just two things I have to remember. And building momentum allows it to be open, flexible, change of direction if need be, allows me to rest, because that is building momentum in some ways, because it allows you to rest, because you know that you're going to have fuel in the tank to then keep going. And yeah, really just having that lifestyle, having that vision of the feelings, the emotions I want to have, and what my day-to-day is going to be, which is just helping people. So that's me. Hopefully this helps, and good luck for 2022. See you in the next one.